Bishop Wooden, a well-liked member of the religious community, is only 71 years old when he encounters a struggle his family can no longer ignore. Fans, congregations, and followers worldwide are in disbelief over the tragic news of his deteriorating health. No one anticipated the tale of hardship, tenacity, and uncertainty that lies beyond the prayers and public appearances. Keep listening, because what you're about to hear has the power to permanently alter your perception of this spiritual icon. For many, Bishop Wooden has served as a beacon of hope, a spiritual guide who has inspired generations with his words and deeds. However, the family has now disclosed information that nobody wanted to hear at age 71. His health is deteriorating, and many people are shocked by the truth of his condition. We'll delve deeply into the narrative behind the headlines in this video, the events leading up to this announcement, the family's moving remarks, and the true implications for Bishop Wooden's legacy and ministry will all be covered. You won't only receive superficial updates. Here, we provide the information that most individuals don't discuss. The emotional toll on his supporters and loved ones, as well as the challenges that go on behind the scenes. You're going to hear more than just another health update, so stay tuned. It's a tale of faith, tenacity, and the humanity of a person who has been a mainstay of the neighborhood for many years. And believe me when I say that the revelations we make today will cause you to think about leadership, life, and the strength of hope when faced with hardship. It's crucial to comprehend Bishop Wooden's life and legacy before discussing the tragic news about his health. Bishop Wooden, who was born more than 70 years ago, has devoted his life to serving as a minister, leading congregations, and teaching innumerable people who look to him for spiritual and personal advice. It wasn't always an easy trip for him. Early in his ministry, he encountered difficulties that would have prevented many people from moving further. But he persisted, creating a movement based on compassion, faith, and steadfast dedication in addition to a church. Bishop Wooden developed into more than just a spiritual leader throughout time. He came to represent resiliency and hope. From modest beginnings, he broadened his influence over several villages, frequently visiting to give sermons, offer advice, and motivate people. Individuals were moved by his deeds as much as by his words. Generations have been encouraged to follow in his footsteps by tales of his charity endeavors, mentorship programs, and active participation in the community. He had an impact outside of local churches. Through social media, television broadcasts, and internet streaming platforms, thousands, occasionally millions, of people followed Bishop Wooden's sermons, teachings, and public appearances. He developed into a person who provided helpful counsel on leadership, family, and personal development in addition to spiritual guidance. His teachings are frequently described by followers as both reassuring and transforming, providing him a reliable source of guidance during uncertain times. Additionally, many fans are unaware of Bishop Wooden's personal side. He has been a grandfather, a father, and a husband behind the pulpit, someone who has had to strike a balance between the daily challenges of life and the enormous obligations of leadership. His closest friends and family frequently compliment him on his humility, listening skills, and capacity to be patient with others even under the most trying circumstances. He is a well-regarded and adored figure because of his unique blend of spiritual authority and friendliness. However, the community that has long depended on him is now dealing with a new reality as his health has started to deteriorate. Now, the same man who appeared to be unstoppable is engaged in a very human struggle, a reminder of the vulnerability of even our most powerful leaders. And because of this sensitivity, the narrative transcends the realm of news. It turns into a contemplation of the legacy of a man who has impacted innumerable lives. As we proceed, you will discover the initial indications of his deteriorating health, the family's choice to make this information public, and the reactions of his followers and the larger religious community. A more complete picture of Bishop Wooden's current reality and its effects on those who love and respect him is painted by the story's many poignant moments and little-known facts. Here's the problem, though. His family's message goes beyond merely mentioning his sickness. Many people were surprised by this tale of resiliency, optimism, and faith. The initial indications that something was gravely damaging his health are also shown in the next section. The initial indications of deteriorating health were subtle but apparent for someone as busy and powerful as Bishop Wooden. Churchgoers and followers who had seen him frequently started to notice minor adjustments, such as slower motions, short pauses during lectures, and times when he appeared more worn out than normal. At first, it could have appeared insignificant to many, the inevitable consequences of aging coming up to a man in his 70s. Those closest to him, however, were aware of this. They noticed the trends, the subtle but enduring clues that something was amiss. The first to realize how serious the situation was were Bishop Wooden's family members, who had long been a pillar of support and protection in his life. They discovered through discreet observations and private discussions that his health was more precarious than they had thought. It was more than sporadic fatigue. It concerned fundamental issues that were starting to get in the way of his obligations and day-to-day activities. The family, who loved him so much, had to decide whether to tell the truth to the public or to keep it secret as they did for decades. According to insider claims, Bishop Wooden would be shielded from unwelcome scrutiny and conjecture if the revelation remained confidential. However, it can also leave his supporters unprepared for the truth about his illness. However, going public means facing questions, speculation, and feelings head-on. However, it would enable the community to publicly support him and his family. According to reports, doctors and medical experts had suggested a cautious strategy that prioritized relaxation, less travel, and close observation of his health. Bishop Wooden, however, was not used to slowing down because his life had been devoted to helping others. His love of ministry frequently clashed with the medical realities he now had to deal with, causing friction between his personal preferences and the necessary actions for his health. The initial public indications of worry occurred during planned sermons and appearances. Observers saw that he occasionally stopped to collect his breath or appeared noticeably weaker at certain points. Although he made an effort to keep up his typical vigor and charm, these brief appearances gave fans a sense that something important was happening behind the scenes. The family knew the truth was more nuanced, but many fans initially dismissed it as typical aging. There were reports of strong and passionate family conversations. The worry about his future, the dread of losing a rock, and the difficulty of striking a balance between openness and dignity were all shared by loved ones. While some family members believed the public had a right to know, others wanted to keep his privacy intact at all costs. A fine balance between faith, hope, and reality was portrayed in this internal conflict, a reality that became more challenging to cope with as his illness worsened. Then, the pivotal moment arrived. The family felt it was time to make a public declaration after weeks of close observation and private consultations with medical experts. They understood that Bishop Wooden's supporters' love and support may be a source of strength for him and the family as they went through this trying time. This is where the emotional twist comes in. The family stressed hope despite the announcement. They made it apparent that even though Bishop Wooden's health was deteriorating, he was still a man of faith and tenacity who had conquered obstacles in the past. The news was both devastating and inspirational because of this dichotomy, which acknowledges the gravity of the situation while also displaying his persistent spirit. Many people were unaware at the time that this public recognition was just the start. The family's sincere message is detailed in the next section. Their statements caused people all throughout the world to become more emotional, introspective, and to pray for him than they had ever done before. The world appeared to stop when Bishop Wooden's family made their statement public. Words that were genuine, honest, and intensely personal were said to fans, members of the congregation, and other spiritual leaders. It was more than just a fact-sharing announcement. The goal was to communicate a fact that had been subtly bothering them for weeks: the reality of his deteriorating health and the difficulties he was currently confronting. The family characterized Bishop Wooden as powerful, tenacious, and devout in the statement. However, they also didn't downplay the fact that his health had deteriorated. They stressed that although he continued to serve and inspire, there were boundaries that needed to be respected, that he had been receiving medical attention, and that doctors were keeping a careful eye on his health. Sharing the reality without undermining optimism and educating the people without creating unnecessary fear required a careful balance. The statement's tone of compassion and solidarity was what made it so moving. Alongside his followers, the family documented their emotional journey in addition to providing medical updates. They talked about restless nights, private prayer sessions, vulnerable moments, and the little triumphs that brought back memories of Bishop Wooden's unwavering spirit. Because of these intimate facts, audiences found the story to be not only about health, but also about humanity, familial ties, and the emotional toll of leadership. Social media took up almost instantly. Fans from all over the nation sent thousands of letters expressing love, prayers, and concern. Numerous others related first-hand accounts of how Bishop Wooden's teachings had changed their lives. Tales of consolation when faith seemed far away, hope when despair struck, and direction when times were difficult. It became evident that the true, long-lasting impact he had on people's lives was a better indicator of his influence than the sermons he gave or the programs he started. The message was also spread by news organizations and Christian media, which celebrated his legacy while emphasizing how severe the situation was. The public's mixed feelings of adoration and concern are reflected in the headlines, which range from favorite bishop faces health struggles to faith community rallies around Bishop Wooden. This was more than just a health update, as each report made clear. It was a moment that made people realize how fleeting life is, especially for those who appear to be bigger than it is. This is where many people were most affected. Even spiritual symbols are human, as demonstrated by his family's weakness. It served as a reminder to followers that all leaders, no matter how highly regarded, face fear, uncertainty, and hardship. People were more sympathetic to Bishop Wooden and his family as a result of this openness. The public's backing was not merely sentimental, it was evidence of decades of dedication, guidance, and sincere communication. However, the announcement also sparked some debate. What is the severity of his condition? What impact will this have on his continuing ministry? Will he still inspire and preach as he always has? In order to maintain dignity while enabling followers to participate with their prayers, thoughts, and well wishes, the family provided glimmers of hope while keeping some aspects confidential. This strategy maintained the community's emotional investment and level of concern by carefully balancing relief and suspense. Most significantly, the statement disclosed a significant aspect of resilience. Bishop Wooden's faith did not waver despite his deteriorating health. The family emphasized his ongoing dedication to mentorship, prayer, and leadership. They reminded people that although he might not be as strong physically, his spiritual influence was still quite strong. It was a message of thanks, hope, and a fresh respect for leadership and life. The impact was instantaneous. Special prayer sessions were held in churches all around the country. Campaigns on social media urged followers to share Bishop Wooden's lessons and best recollections. Love-filled emails, comments, and inboxes were overflowing. The moment went beyond ordinary news. It developed into a group devotional, appreciative, and contemplative act. The exciting part comes next. Although the family statement clarified his health, it also alluded to issues that are still being worked out in the background. Medical updates, personal hardships, and choices regarding his ministry's future. The following part of this story is even more crucial because of those factors. In addition to affecting him and his family, Bishop Wooden's deteriorating health has had an impact on his entire ministry and the larger religious community. He has been the pillar of his church for many years, a mentor whose counsel, teachings, and choices influenced the lives of many others. Because of his leadership style, which blended spiritual direction with active participation, his personal touch was evident in every program, outreach activity, and community project. Many of those closest to him are now dealing with a new reality as a result of his deteriorating health. How to keep a flourishing ministry going while making sure Bishop Wooden gets the rest, attention, and assistance he requires. According to reports, church leaders have been taking over duties that he previously oversaw directly. Despite their abilities, these leaders must overcome the formidable task of taking over the role that has led the church for many years. A challenging undertaking from an operational and emotional standpoint. The impact is also being felt strongly by the congregation. Years of sermons, therapy sessions, and outreach initiatives have allowed many to get to know Bishop Wooden personally. For many, it serves as a sobering reminder of human frailty as they see him slow down or periodically withdraw from public engagements. Once solely focused on his leadership, services now have a new energy that invites congregations to consider the man and the message he has always preached. The wider religious community has also paid attention. Concern has been voiced by pastors, religious authorities, and even well-known Christians, who have sent prayers and messages of solidarity. In addition to showing admiration for Bishop Wooden as a spiritual leader, this outpouring also acknowledges his impact on influencing discussions about faith, resiliency, and leadership. Hashtags became popular on social media. Prayer requests went around, and a flood of sincere words came into the church's official channels. Bishop Wooden's strong relationship with his disciples is evident from the outpouring. A link forged through many years of sincere service and real interaction. His deteriorating health has spurred a broader discussion about leadership succession in Christian communities outside of the specific congregation. A lot of people are posing challenging queries. Who is going to continue Bishop Wooden's vision? In what ways will his lessons continue to motivate generations to come? How can the practical administration of a sizable, diverse ministry be balanced with maintaining a leader's legacy? These issues, which are frequently unsaid in other settings, are currently being discussed extensively in religious communities, both domestically and internationally. There have been indications of adaptation and hope in spite of these difficulties. According to reports, the ministry has been putting in place mechanisms to guarantee service continuity. Outreach campaigns and mentoring programs. Congregants are now receiving stability and assurance from leaders who previously functioned in the background, taking on more visible responsibilities. Bishop Wooden's physical and spiritual presence continues to be a beacon of hope for the church. Despite his attention to his health, the congregation's united response is one particularly poignant feature. Bishop Wooden and his family have been the focus of virtual meetings, social media campaigns, and small prayer groups. Not everyone is only praying. By exchanging intimate tales, recollections, and introspection, they are building a living record of the ways he has influenced their lives. This time of uncertainty has strengthened many people's faith by serving as a reminder of the value of community, fortitude, and thankfulness. Nevertheless, there is an unmistakable sense of suspense despite all the love and support. What prospects does Bishop Wooden's ministry have? For what length of time can he continue to play an active role? Perhaps most importantly, what private hardships is he going through that the world is unaware of? Every update from the family or the church leadership keeps the community interested, involved, and fervently invested because of these unresolved questions. It gets even more poignant from this point on. Even though there is no denying the seriousness of the health issues, Bishop Wooden's response, his unshakable faith, ongoing leadership, and resolve to be involved are admirable. It acts as a reminder that influence and leadership are not exclusively correlated with physical prowess. Their foundation lies in vision, intelligence, and the capacity to make a significant impact on people's lives. This cliffhanger, however, causes many viewers to pause and think. Bishop Wooden's health is still a sensitive and changing issue, notwithstanding the congregation's recovery and the ministry's adjustments. His status is still being continuously monitored by his family, who approach each update with optimism, prayer, and thoughtful deliberation, even while the public witnesses occasional displays of fortitude and resiliency. The whole narrative, everyday hardships, and private moments of weakness are rarely revealed.